Peace unto you. Our verse today is from John chapter 16, verse 20. Truly, truly, I say to you, you will weep and mourn, while the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. In the Gospels, the expression truly, truly, or amen, amen, I say to you, is used as a form of solemn affirmation, and it is always related to what precedes, while placing much emphasis on the words that follow. So Jesus addressed these words to his disciples before his passion and death, thereby preparing them for what they were certainly going to experience. The first two words he used here are to weep and to mourn or lament. And these are words used for loud wailings and lamentations after death. For instance, Luke reports that the women lamented for Jesus on the way to Calvary. Luke 23 verse 27. While Mark and John report that they were wailing on Easter morning. See Mark 16:10 and John 20:11. In our verse today, to weep and lament refers to the grief which the disciples will display when their master is taken away from their immediate presence, and the inward grief which they would feel at that time. He then presents the situation of the Jewish authorities and enemies of Jesus who represent the world and its powers. They will rejoice that the prophet whom they hate has been removed from the scene. Having told them the pain that was awaiting them, Jesus also announced to them that this same grief or sorrow of theirs would turn to joy. We see this fulfilled in John 20 verse 20, which says, the disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. And in John 16:21, Jesus uses the metaphor of childbirth to drive home his message. The pains that accompany a woman in labor are real, but are soon forgotten in the joy and the excitement of a new birth. An important thing we learn from this verse is that Jesus did not promise his followers a life immune from problems, difficulties, and life challenges. He did not promise them a world of fantasy where there will be no hunger, sickness, betrayals, family problems, crisis in vocation, or painful experiences or disappointments. Rather, he assured them that he would see them again and they would rejoice, and no one would take away their joy. John 16:22. This promise emphasizes one important truth, that God cares for the believer. God knows our challenges and difficulties. God is not keeping quiet in your suffering, but he silently accompanies you while waiting to turn your sorrows into joy. Being Christians does not exclude us from the trials and problems of this world. They are only for us a participation in the sufferings and sorrows of Christ. But the good news is the promise of Jesus, which says, I will see you again, and you will rejoice. Your sorrow will turn to joy. No one will take away your joy. The issue is not that we have problems, but how we handle these problems and difficulties. That is what defines us as Christians. So let us learn to hold God by his words as we go through the troubled times in which we live. Let us await the transition from grief to joy and look up to God, who alone can banish our present sorrows and disappointments into a lasting and ever-deepening joy that can never be taken away. May God remember you and your family as you go through the troubles and sorrows of this life. May he quicken the transition of your sorrow to joy. And as God lifts you, may no power take away your joy and victory. Amen. God bless you. Have a nice day.